tan suit. Tan suit. Tan suit.
President Obama's decision to wear a light tan suit at yesterday's news conference. He was wearing a tan suit.
Light tan suit.
I think it was shocking to a lot of people. Is this an effort to make him look warmer?
No way, I think any of us can excuse what the president did yesterday. I mean, and then for him to walk out, I'm not trying to be trivial here, but in a light suit, light tan suit.
Also known as Tangate.
Tan suit, and how the tan suit made him look unpresidential.
Whoever talked him into going into a tan suit, they're so desperate because of these low poll numbers, they're willing to do anything.
The tan suit made him look unpresidential.
Bag had ears to hear and eyes to see. What if he knew it represented freedom for someone who looked just like me? What if he told me that freedom is for me and for me to live free? What if I asked him if he's sure that freedom is exactly for me? Would he want to die? And why would he even think such a thing? Would he ask, would I even listen to the anthem when the Patriots sing? You know when they fill their lungs up in the air, you know when they prepare to sing. Talk about freedom and all, but it don't really involve with freedom ring. This your freedom, let freedom ring. You want freedom, let freedom ring. This your freedom, fight for freedom, let freedom ring. You want freedom, listen to me, let freedom ring. Mama.
Welcome, everyone, to the Tan Suit Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is going to be a little different than what you're used to. In this podcast, we are going to go deeper and we're going to have more thorough conversations about things that are going on in our political system, things that are going on in our communities, and how it affects us directly. The purpose of this podcast here is simple. We want to expose and discuss the hypocrisy that we see going on in our nation, in our communities, and even sometimes our home, in our relationships and our families. There's a lot to discuss here. And so we decided that these conversations needed a voice. So we're dedicating the Tan Suit Podcast to do exactly that, expose and open and discuss some of the issues that some people don't find comfortable talking about. But we're going to talk about them here. We welcome you, we thank you, and join our conversation. And so please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell everyone that there's a new sheriff in town, the Tan Suit Podcast, where we're going to discuss things that are going to make you feel a little uncomfortable, but are needed to be said. And so welcome. You got it. You know who it is. It's the G Unit together again. My name is Gregory McKinney. I am a life and relationship coach, and I'm here with my main dude, Mr. Gerard. Say hello to the people.
Hey, what's up, people? If you notice, I got my alter ego. If you check the name down at the bottom of the screen, Flex the producer, man. You know, this is where I get a little more on those passionate topics, right? The things that we should make sure we're not overlooking. You know, Gregory, we talked about manhood and how we should lead our families. And one thing that we always say that we should not be ignorant about is these things like politics and social issues that directly affect the well-being of our family, right? Of course, it's jobs. Of course, it's mental health. Of course, it's other education, things like that. But one thing that we absolutely should not overlook is things when it comes to politics, right? A man that's 100%. Not in the know about politics, how can you truly lead your family, right? You end up with just obsolete, outdated information. So it's important that we be in the know. So that's what we want to do. And I like that you said we're going to expose the hypocrisy. So we want to do it a little different. We're not going to talk a lot about 47. You know, by proxy and just default, we will have to mention them time to time. But a lot of what we are finding, and you tell me if you agree with this, and the audience too, let me know if y'all agree with this. A lot of the issues are 47 is who he is and who he's been and who he's forever going to be, right? But what he can't do any of this without the people surrounding him, supporting, excusing, normalizing his BS, right? His mess. So that's what we're going to talk about is this hypocrisy. And you know, the name of the Tan Suit Podcast, if you've been in politics a while, you know that they gave Obama a new butthole. You know, they chewed him up because he wore a tan suit in the White House. He was
Yeah.
unprofessional, unpresidential, all kinds of things that they said about him. So think about some of the things that 47 is doing now. And just by comparison, like you cannot have a intellectually honest conversation and not
Yeah.
mention some of the things that 47 is doing now. So that's what we want to highlight, like you said, is the hypocrisy and the people that support
hmm
and excuse some of the stuff that he does.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm really excited about doing this particular podcast because, we do a lot of for mental health and relationships, which is more my wheelhouse. But we both are advocates, social advocates, and politics, racism both mean a lot to us. And so, as we try to still, we will continue on the journey of helping building men and women up emotionally and spiritually. But what is it that you do after your healing? And that's what this podcast is about, right? And so once you have that mental wholeness and that you have stability in your mind and your home, now it's time to get active. Now it's time to get in the streets. We just don't get whole and healthy just to sit on the couch and say, "Look at
Yeah,
me, I'm
yeah,
healed." We get healed so we can now start activating it. We can now start working in the street and doing the good work.
yeah,
And so this is what this podcast is about, to kind of light that fire under people, to be aware of certain issues, and maybe even give you a direction of where to go and what to do.
yeah. And that's good. So what we're gonna do is just start off with a little lighthearted video, but the seriousness of it is showing just the stark differences between um, former President Obama and current President number 47. So I'm going to show that video. When we get to
47.
the video, we'll come back and start the discussion. How about that?
That sounds great.
And we were right, it was.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting and they did a lot of blasting, even not going through the front door. You think you go through the door. If you're a normal person, you say, knock, knock, may I come in?
After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
He died like a dog.
But his death does not mark the end of our effort.
A beautiful dog, a talented dog.
We give thanks for the men who carried out this operation.
And I don't get any credit for this, but that's okay. I never do. But here we are.
May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
And I'm writing a book. I think I wrote 12 books. All did very well.
I miss Mom's old boyfriend. And this.
So
That video just really shows.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. And it just shows the chasm, how big of a difference there is when you have a intellectual president and you have an egotistical president. I mean, it's just so astonishing, the gap between these two individuals. And what is also remarkable is these are leaders of the same country, right? And so the pool of people that elected them both are pretty much the same pool of population of people that elected both of these individuals. And so it makes you think, how divided must our country really be if we go from one extreme to another like that? And what are those indicators and what are those triggers that says, hey, we're going to swing the pendulum so far to the other side because of what? Is it because you don't feel secure? You don't feel like your needs are getting met? You don't feel like you have a great representation in the White House? What is it that makes you want to go, we have this one style of president, and go to another? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a good question, and we're gonna get into that. Just watching politics over the past, couple years, and especially over the past few months, you see one side is getting very bold, and things that used to be done and said, kind of quietly, and not so much out in the front. They're getting bold, and they're saying it. And one of the things that you and I talked about before the show is the white replacement theory, right? And y'all that don't know, I'll just say it briefly, and I'll let you add to the definition too. But it's the belief that, or it's not just the belief, it's based off the numbers. The projections are that white people will no longer be the
majority in our country.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what they're saying is that there is a concerted effort on one side to replace white people as the majority. And so they're pushing back with a host of laws and rules and just doings and changes, if you will, just to stop that from happening. So that's kind of what the white replacement theory is.
Yeah, yeah. And so the US Census data is showing us that within the next 10 to 15 years, the white population will be the minority. They will still be the single largest single group. But when you combine all the people of color against white America, people of color will outnumber. And so there is a, I don't know if you want to call it an urban legend, but it feels real to me that when you see military literally yanking people out of their homes unnecessarily. And these people are, you know, black and brown people. It, you are preserving the whiteness of America by doing that. And so it is astonishing that these actions are being, like you said, they're so bold, they're so blatant, they're in our face. I heard a news report today that ICE troopers will be present at the Super Bowl because Bad Bunny is the Super Bowl act. And so, of course, he has a large Latin American crowd, of course, a large Spanish speaking crowd. And so, ICE troopers are set to be present in order to catch and wrangle and remove brown people from the Super Bowl. And
Yes.
so when you hear news reports like that, it just makes you think: Is this is are they really trying to stop the natural order of things here? This country is getting browner. Let's just face the facts. The country will inevitably be brown. White people will inevitably not be the single largest group anymore, and and that's not a bad thing. That's nothing to fear. That's nothing to be scared of. But once you've always had power, that's your biggest fear, is to lose power.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, the intentionality of what they're doing, right? It's so obvious. We said that. So, um, things that have been, you know, just celebrated in unison, right? No matter what your race were, well,
Yeah,
it's under attack, right? And
yeah,
not just
yeah. Like the Super Bowl.
like Super Bowl, right? So, but it
Hmm.
started a while ago. You know, it was the whole Budweiser is getting beginning to be woke, and which is
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
crazy though is you look at the last few halftime shows, and you know it's more pop, R&B, urban culture than other
Right.
culture. And but I think,
Yeah.
and I get it, you know, want to be diverse, but everything in America is about numbers, right? What's going to draw the biggest
Hmm.
crowd? What's going to, you know,
Hmm.
the football game, but the halftime shows is just as big. You know, they talk about the commercials, all these things that are part of that huge event. So the powers that be recognize the draw, the loyal, if you will, that comes with urban culture, and that's kind of what's driving it. I don't think it's anything serious or hateful for anybody. It's just how capitalistic market goes. Where can we draw the biggest crowd with the most amount of money? And that's what's happening. But however, they politicize it, right? And now that's what we get.
Well, you know, I mean, the conversation could also go until you give someone new a chance. You don't know what they can do. Performance was the largest Super Bowl act in history, and then when Kendrick Lamar did it the following year, his Super Bowl act became the single largest watched Super Bowl act of all time. And so the argument could also be made: while we do support diversity, okay, we do
Yeah.
support diversity, um, you would never have known Kendrick Lamar could have pulled those numbers had not Jay Z, who is really, you know, has a lot of influence of who gets selected, was in the room to make those decisions. And so you
Yeah.
needed diversity in the room to make the decision. And guess what? The number went up. But had there not be DEI included in who gets chosen for the Super Bowl uh, half show, we would not have black performers. We wouldn't have Rihanna and Usher and Kendrick Lamar and now Bad Bunny. Now, I personally, you know, I would completely see the relevancy and the legitimacy if Taylor Swift, Adele did Super Bowl halftime show. Those are huge stars. They're like, okay, I get it. They're big stars. They're gonna bring in big numbers. But we're doing Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is a global hit. And I believe it was Stephen A. Smith who actually said that was a genius move because Super Bowl now has the ability to, right? And so going global means different ethnic groups. It doesn't mean white people. So you're going to be touching Latin audiences and Asian audiences. All of these people that have to check other on an application are now included in what we consider to be an all-American type of sport. And so there is a fear that, hey, if we bring in all of these people of color, they're going to steal our American pastimes. They're going to steal baseball from us. They're going to steal football from us. And while Jay-Z's idea is let's make this global and include all, guess what? White America is afraid that yet again, people of color are going to come and take something away from us. That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just to add to what you said, they using Jay-Z to help make it happen. That decision was made well above Jay-Z. They hired Jay-Z to be like the ambassador and to make this happen.
Be like a face of it.
Yeah, rest assured that this was made as a collective by the NFL owners, right? The commissioner, the NFL players union, advertisers, everyone who has an interest in seeing this thing grow. So if you want to, not that minorities don't have a seat at the table at those highest levels, but let's be honest, who are NFL owners? The team, the one who owns the team. Who are the advertisers, the one that make the decision on that right there? Let's be honest, bro. It's not us, Gregory. Yeah. So again, while Jay-Z is helping influence that, they had made the decision well before they brought Jay-Z on that they was going to go this direction. So again, which is another thing I want to talk about is why the pushback. And I hate that we got to always preface these conversations with we're not racist. We love
I know, exactly. Because we haven't said nothing racist, right? So why we gotta apologize for it? We haven't said nothing racist yet.
But I feel the need to say that. Like, think about the word you said, diversity, earlier, right? And I'm saying that so we can pivot to the next topic. Our beloved Secretary of Defense, Hegseth. He made a comment when he was talking to the generals and other senior leaders a couple of days ago. And he said, no longer are we going to use this phrase that our strength is in our diversity. He's removing that, right? And no longer are we focused on this DEI mindset. And DEI, the way that they defined it, which is a perversion and a lie based on what DEI really is. But when you get the decision makers, right, that come in and they're bold enough to make these decisions. No matter the pushback they're going to get, there's no shame, no guilt in anything that they're doing because their thing is they want to preserve what it is that they already have. And what they have is positions of privilege. And let's be honest, and you and I talked about that before. If you are benefiting from something, by something, a system, a process, a rule or law. Who in there, honestly, not saying that no one will, but are you going to be willing to give up your position of privilege to include other people, to level the playing field? And I guess that's the question I would ask you. If you have a position of privilege, judging off your flesh, your desire to be the best, to have the most that you can, are you going to be readily willing to give up your position of privilege for somebody else?
Depending on the situation, like if I got to be honest, there are certain situations where the answer would be no. I would not. So if it was like my home, and I got a big nice house, no way would I change it for something smaller. I'm gonna be honest with you. But if it was a first class seat and a pregnant woman needed to be more comfortable and I had to sit coach, definitely, for sure, absolutely, I would.
And I like that you gave the options, but let's think about things like fair wages, like equal pay for equal work. One of the things that women are fighting for. They make pennies on the dollar compared to their white male counterparts, right? So when you're talking about how do you equalize that, right, level their playing field, it's not going to be only from women advocating or pushing for equality. It's going to take those that are in the boardroom, the decision makers to say, yeah, you know what, they're right. Yeah, well, let's be honest. When they talk about the money that Exxon and Amazon and some of these Fortune 500 companies make, they make billions and billions of dollars. So
Yeah.
giving up some privilege or raising the wages or the benefits for their employees, they're still going to make billions, right? But that's the thing that
Absolutely.
I'm talking about. These position of privilege for certain people, and it's not all white people. Let's be honest, right? But it's the one
Right.
at the top, the less than 1% that make that kind of money at the expense of everyone else, and the wage gap is tremendous, right? How much the CEOs and the owners of these organizations make versus the lay people who down there doing the work. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm
Right.
saying giving up your position of privilege, to help other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. One of the things that I felt like why the country was so divided when Obama was president was because of the distribution of power. And so to kind
Yeah,
of piggyback on what you're saying, it is being considered equal to someone who you think is inferior, right? And so I think that white people in general are not racist. I think if we did a poll or census or an assessment, most white people are not. I believe that.
agreed.
So what I will say though is that for a lot of white people though, there is this ideal of we can work side by side and you can even report to me, but don't you ever get above me. If you were to become my leader or you become my manager, you become my supervisor, you become my director or something like that, that's when I kind of start getting uncomfortable because it is the fear that somehow when a person of color who has been oppressed is now it has some level of success, they're going to want revenge. And I
Yeah,
think that is a fear. Also, when we talked about diversity, what is disappointing to me that when people hear diversity, they only think race. When they
they
think
do.
affirmative action,
Yeah,
they only think race. Affirmative
agree.
action was designed to help handicap people. That was what its inception was for. And of course, the data show who most benefits from affirmative action. Women mostly benefit. But when you have the policymakers discuss affirmative action, guess what they go to? Black people are getting jobs above white people.
Yeah,
That's not the case. That's not it. And so it's disappointing that when I hear diversity of thought, perspective, education, background, and also culture. And all of that gumbo makes for a good business, a good community, and it just enhances whatever it is task you have in front of you. And it just
yeah,
shows how much race plays in our culture right now. You can't even say words like diversity, equity, or inclusion, and people not think black people just got a chip on their shoulder and they just want an easy ride. That's not the case.
that's good. That's good. And to the audience, we see the comments coming in. So, hey, type them in, and we're going to make sure we get to them. And as Gregory said earlier, if you don't mind, share the show, invite people to watch the show and comment as well. But one of the things that you talked about is, about the diversity that stood out
Hmm.
is understanding, like, to be able to market your product or your service to the masses, right? To reach as many people as
Hmm.
possible, not just reach them, but convince them to buy in, buy your product, buy your service, participate in whatever it is. You need a diverse people out there that's up at the top making the decisions, right? So
True.
that you know
That's true.
what is it that Hispanic people like? What is it that people that have disabilities need? What is it that veterans, need? So you have to be of a diverse part. If not, you're gonna just be throwing meaningless, stereotypes out there, hoping that you drag or draw people in to buy your product or your service, and that's just crazy to think that they would demonize diversity is such that they even begin to hurt their own brain.
Right, right. And we've seen that so many times. I forget what brand it was, but they did a marketing this clothing brand did a marketing campaign where it had a black boy and on his shirt it had the word monkey and it had like a little chimpanzee underneath it. And it was supposed to be a children's sweatshirt, and it had all animals. It had a zebra, a giraffe, a panda, and all of that going on, right? But they coincidentally chose the black boy to wear the monkey
Yeah.
sweatshirt. And it just goes to show you did not have any black people in the room on that day. Like
Yeah.
that day at work, none of the black people showed up, or you don't have black people in the room at all. So
Yeah.
how does that happen? That happens when we're not aware of our inclusion here. That happens when we think, oh, we're just going to select the people who we think are best, instead of saying no. On purpose, we need to have some type of diversity here, so those type of mistakes don't happen. You
Yeah.
know.
And Tanisha saying that was at the H&M commercial. I do remember that, right?
Oh,
But you're right,
thank
right?
you,
But
thank you. I
think
couldn't
about
remember.
the
Yeah.
level of pride and gatekeeping that goes in that, to say, like, you know what, we're going to market to a certain population, but we're
Hmm.
not going to figure out the intricate details of not just what they want, but the things that they absolutely reject. Like, you don't want to go out and just because black people in there coming to your house, hey, I got this watermelon and chicken, right? And it seems so
Right.
trivial and ridiculous, but it's
Yeah.
really a thing, right? And me being in the military, I love the EO program, which is the civilian equivalent of DEI, right? But
Okay.
we not only do we have programs around it, but we quarterly, every 3 months, we train on those things. So it's a proactive program. We don't just wait for things to happen to get out and address them. So it's training
Yeah.
every 3 months, and then it's remedial or retraining where you see the need is there. So these programs work.
Yeah.
So when I again see people demonizing DEI, it's really disheartening for me, because I've seen these programs at work and do
Right.
wonders to even not just protect the vulnerable, but they even protect the dominant race, right? Those that are in power.
Hmm.
Because now you
Hmm.
talk about false acquisitions, right? Accusation.
Yeah.
I can, make a statement about you saying that you did something or said something. And these
Hmm.
programs protect
Hmm.
everyone, not just the minority. So
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
hate
Yeah.
to see it.
That's good. One of the things that I'm excited about the Tan Suit podcast for me specifically is we talked about hypocrisy, but also hypocrisy in the church, and how Christian nationalists are on a rampage and using the word of God, which I hold near and dear to my heart as a minister now for over 20 years, using it for hate mongering. And like, I don't see how you and I can serve the same God, read the same Bible, and have two vastly different interpretations, because the God I serve and the God I know and the God that I read about in the Bible doesn't is not the author of confusion. And so all of these hate mongering and these speeches that I hear where people recite a scripture and think that that justifies your hate is really hypocritical, and I think is really going to play the downfall of our society if we don't get a
So,
handle on it.
if you don't mind, just a brief definition in your own words of what Christian nationalism is.
Yeah. So Christian nationalism is a far-reaching sect of Christianity where they use the Bible in order to oppress others who are not like them. And so, as we know, this country was founded by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right? White men. And so the laws were created by white heterosexual Christian males, right? And so a Christian nationalist is someone who holds true to that tradition that the white Christian heterosexual male is the epitome of what our society should be. And so if you're outside of that group, even if you're a white female, then you're somehow considered less than. And so a
Okay.
Christian nationalist is someone who will say, we believe our country should be founded on the word of God. But their interpretation
Yeah.
of the word of God causes division because they put whiteness before Christianity.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to it,
Yeah.
just look up the Britannica definition. It says Christian nationalism is an ideology that seeks to create or maintain a legal fusion of Christian religion with the nation's character. So it's saying, when you hear people say
Hmm.
that this is a Christian nation, they might not
Hmm.
even understand it, but they're advocating for Christian nationalism, because just think about it. Not everybody is a Christian in this nation, right? Not everybody
Sure.
is a believer. You got atheists, you got agnostic, you got Muslim,
Muslims,
you got,
Hindus.
yeah.
Hmm.
And just think about even just how many different sects, if you will, different organizations under the Protestant uh,
Yeah.
religion,
denomination.
right?
Yeah,
They don't
yeah,
even
yeah, yeah, yeah.
agree with it amongst themselves on so many things. So what's crazy about it is what they advocating for, it will end up being their demise because again, you got people under the same in the same organization that can't agree on certain things. But somehow we're supposed to think that you can have this Christian nation, if you will, and that they're going to be protected or advanced. Their ideals are going to be advanced. And it's just crazy to be to think that.
It is. It is. They're essentially saying either you're for us or against us because we don't want to include you.
Yeah.
And so if you're different than us, then you are an outsider and you have to be removed. And we see that every day with ICE troopers.
Yeah, yeah, good deal. So we got a couple comments. We're just going to highlight the people who on there. I know we're competing with football on there, but we had to push through with the show. We got Miss Dorkeisa Henry. You know, I find out talking to her
Mm.
a few days ago. Me and Dorkeisa, we're from the same hometown, I believe. I know she has family in Texas County, but she actually lives out here in the area close to me. So, you know,
Cool.
always
Nice.
cool to see her on. And Miss Trusty Mika, she said evening.
Hey, Tamika. Hey, Queen. What's up,
Yeah,
sis? Good
for
to see
sure,
you.
for sure. And Dorkeisa also says DEI is what we want. That is fair. You're right. And you know, they demonize it and they make
Yeah.
it as if that these are less qualified people that are given preferential treatment because they're black. You know, that's the focus of it, right? And we know that's so
Not
far
true.
from the truth. And if you want to be honest about it, when we walk into the room, oftentimes, let's be honest, we have to be more educated, more experienced,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and more patient and more docile, if you will, to compete
Yeah.
with us, right? To make sure that we can fit in. I'm gonna ask you this,
Right.
and you can be honest or not. How many times you walked in a room, Gregory, and I know it's for me. I just put it on me. I walk in the room sometimes, and if I see people other than black people, I automatically wonder like, what are they thinking about? Do
Mm.
they think that I
Mm.
belong? Or are they receptive and acceptive of what I bring to the table? Or they already
Yeah.
preconceived, you know, beliefs that puts me at a disadvantage. And I've talked to a lot of black people and they feel the same way. And it's because of
Yeah.
the underlining, you know, dynamics of some of the issues with this. And it goes to the original sin, right, which is a racism. So we can act like it don't exist, but it does us no good. Or we can take it on head on and deal with it, which we did that with
Right.
DEI, but now they're
Yeah.
dismantling it, and you know, honestly, we're taking steps backwards now.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, when we think DEI, even as Black people, we still want qualified candidates to get
Of
the
course,
job. I don't want you to have a job you're unqualified for just because you're Black. No,
yeah,
you got to be able to hit all the tick marks that this job is looking for as well.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna let you take this one, Keith, if you don't mind.
It says, right, no job is promised. I say we need a union for all jobs, is for people job security to help with that. A union for all jobs, in a perfect world, we would have that. I think our society is shifting a lot more toward entrepreneurship, which is a great thing. Um, but exactly, there should be some type of security with jobs that when you have an issue, you don't have to fear retaliation.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point. We drop Gregory, and we'll work on getting him back. But Keith, you're absolutely right. There, is this 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 country is built on the protection and the support that comes with having a union. Part of it. You think about, I know a lot of people that are part of the post office right now, and the post office has one of the strongest unions out there. But what
Yeah.
it does, it protects people, you know, from unfair practices, you know, firings that wasn't fair,
Hmm.
just a number of
Hmm.
things, you know. So I agree, unions are a part of empowering the workforce, you know.
Yeah, you have
And
a
unfortunately,
advocate.
some of the powers that be, they don't side with unions, which is crazy when you got 47 that boasted that he does not like unions. But here you are, he's saying that, but unions are supporting. And I'm just like, what in the world and why? Like, how could you vote against your interest? But nevertheless, that's something that we dealt with this last election.
Yeah, you can't believe half of what he says and
Yeah,
not trust the other half.
exactly. Yeah. And she was talking about what we said earlier about the gatekeepers. They're doing what they do. So, yeah, it's an unfortunate piece of. But another thing before we jump off of here, we
Yeah.
talked about earlier too that since the 9 months that 47 has been in power, over
Hmm.
300,000 Black women have lost
Yeah.
their.
Yeah.
Part
Right.
of that is the federal government with their huge layoffs, but the other part is what we're talking about is the attack on DEI, right? Where
Right.
companies are
Right.
literally getting rid of their programs that promote diversity and bring these opportunities to the inner city or to underserved communities, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
when I heard that number, and actually it was this weekend we was talking to Anthony, and he was like, "Man, did you know that over 300,000 people have lost Black women have lost their jobs since 47 has been in office?" And I was just like, "Man, let me dig into that. Who I am. I just
Yeah.
like to research and see." But that he's dead on. He's dead on. And I know we got some numbers or some stats. I don't know if you want to read them or not, but just let you respond to that bit of
You
information
know,
that we found out.
it makes me think, is this another concerted effort to have women dependent on public assistance, Black women in particular? Because we know for sure that there are a lot of single family homes and a lot of single mother homes where it is the Black woman who is taking care of herself and her children. And if that is the case for 300,000 women, then you can imagine the circumstances that she has to scramble in right now to try to maintain the lifestyle that she was in. Public assistants now have harsher guidelines. It's not quick. It's not easy. And so there is a lot of struggling there. And so now you're going to have a lot of Black women who have no other choice but to go on public assistance. And then, that creates even more of the stereotype. It's hard to recover after that. And so, it just seems like a intentional effort to keep
Well,
Black people down. I don't know how to say it other than that.
yeah,
Like they just got
yeah.
their foot on our neck.
Yeah, and it's true. It's true. It's obvious, and they're stating the obvious too. So it's not like we have to wonder what they're up to when they talk about the great replacement theory, when they're talking about demonizing DEI, and even these companies that have traditionally supported DEI program and promoted it, they stressed and forced them to I ain't gonna say forced because it's still a decision on them, but you know, some of the companies dropped their DEI programs. We talk about Target.
Hmm.
They was one of
Yeah.
the biggest supporters of DEI after the George Floyd death, right? Target,
Right.
man, you can go in there, you can get all kinds of Black art, Black games that,
Hmm.
one of the
Greeting
games I remember
cards and
was
haircut products.
yeah, Black Card Revoke. You remember that game right there? You get the
Hmm.
test
Hmm.
your knowledge of Black culture. But products,
Yeah.
people were getting their products on the shelf that they wouldn't have
Hmm.
otherwise happened.
Yeah.
So when the pressure
Yeah.
came from 47, they folded, which brings me back to the issue. Like this is a multi-billion-dollar company. And okay, you folded under pressure, but the people that are hurting are us. Here we are trying to figure out how to level the playing field, take your, the services to the inner city and give these people an opportunity to get their quality product on your shelves. And now you want to wipe that out. So yeah, just something that
But they
irritated me.
learned a huge lesson. They lost, I think it was 4 point something billion
It was like
dollars.
12 billion.
Whoa.
It was a
Okay.
lot. Yeah,
And the CEO had to step down.
yeah,
And
that was
so
smoke
what
and
they
mirrors though.
did,
He went from
what they,
CEO to COO.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
But they underestimated the power of the Black dollar and the power of Black unity. And I hope what Black people take away from that is when we come together, we can make change. We can spark change. And so you can see that we got Target shaking in their boots right now, and that's a big conglomerate. That's not small potatoes right there.
listen,
And so we did that, folks. We did that. We said we will not be disrespected. You're gonna put some respect on our name, or we're not gonna come shop at your stove. And I said
yeah,
stove.
yeah.
And so and
Not
and and,
so.
and it was noticeable, right? It was impactful, right? And so the big takeaway for me is that we don't have to take that. We're at a place now in society and culture where we don't have to take this disrespect. We can take our money somewhere else. And so I hope what other stores and businesses learn from Target's example is you got to respect the Black dollar because
Yeah.
Black people won't be disrespected.
Yeah, it's the estimate, like, what is it? $1.7 trillion that we spend, that we pump into the economy, the black dollar. So
Wow.
it's a powerful
Wow.
tool. And
Hmm.
I was kind of disheartened, disappointed, because when we were doing the Target fast, a lot of black people were naysayers, and they were like, it ain't gonna work. Y'all need to quit always trying to boycott. Well, guess what happened when Jimmy Kimmel got canceled?
We
They
boycotted.
turned out in masses, and it didn't take
Hmm.
6, 7, 8, 10 months like it did for
No.
Target. It was just a matter of days before
Yep.
Kimmel was back on. And it reminded me, I just remember seeing, like, man, when people stick together,
Yeah.
for something that they believe in, it works. Because
Yeah.
people don't
Yeah.
understand at the top, they don't understand anything but money. And if you remember the
Right.
last government shutdown, and hey, shout out to our government workers who are out there trying to figure out what's next, man. We're praying for you, and we're hoping
Yeah.
that this
God
thing
bless you.
just passes. It's quick, but you remember the TSA,
Hmm.
not TSA, air traffic control. They are the ones, when that last shutdown went on. They are the ones that put pressure, because they were having to work without getting paid. Well, they said they weren't coming to work anymore. And lo and behold, when they took a stand, the
Yeah.
powers that be, the airline industry and all these other people, they called Congress like, hey, you need to get on it. And guess what they
Yeah.
did? They passed the budget within days, and they got
Yeah.
back to work. So it's probably going to take something similar to keep pressure on these people to do the right thing. So, but
Hmm.
we could talk about issues all day, and there are plenty. But again, this thing, we want to make sure that we highlighted some of the hypocrisy that's out there, right? But one thing I want to leave us with is that there are resources, right? And one resource I want to talk about is how to vote and what you need to vote. People turn out last time in last few elections. It happens all the time. They go to precincts and realize that they're not registered. So it costs them their voice. Your vote is your voice in this time right here. So we got this resource. I'm just going to share it real quick, and so that people can put it in their hip pocket. Excuse the military term, but and it's, can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
They like
So
the information you need. Hmm.
it's vote 411, and the website is www.vote411.org, and that's where you go to register to vote. You see, is that this option right here. You register to vote. You check your registration too to make sure that it's not outdated. A lot of people move to different counties, like here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, Gregory. You
Hmm.
can move and be in another county, just 2 miles away, and you don't realize
Oh
that you
yeah.
need to go somewhere else to vote
Absolutely.
or register differently.
Yeah.
So there's that option, and there's also find out what's on your ballot, means that you're actually voting. So um, vote411.org is this website. Just don't want people to get caught out there thinking you registered to vote, and it's not. And let's be honest, they are doing what they can to make voting more difficult.
Yeah.
So don't wait
Yeah.
until the day of. This is stuff that you can start doing now to prepare for the midterm elections and be ready for the presidential election as well. Just want
Yeah.
to make sure that we
Yeah.
pass
That's
that.
great information. That's great information. I think it would be very useful to a lot of people. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. So, but this was good, man. Just want to take a moment to introduce this new podcast, and we're still trying to develop it, right? Um,
Yeah.
the frequency of it, but we want to make sure that we're out here, sharing truths, you know, and there's a lot of disinformation out there, and
Yeah. Yeah.
not about it. No one that I'd rather have on here more than you, a man of integrity. They want to make sure that
Thank you.
they're spreading the truth out there in the name of God as well, too. So,
Hey, when all you had to do was say tan suit, because I'm tan,
yeah.
so I can relate. So when you say tan, I'm gonna show up.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we do want everyone watching to know that whenever there is a real issue out there, whenever there is something that is needed to be talked about, we're gonna show up.
Yeah.
You can count on us that, hey, if it's affected our community and it needs to be talked about, or we need to be informed, or we need clarity, we're going to show up.
Yeah.
So as we work out the frequency and the details, you just know when you need us, we're going to show up.
We're gonna show. And to our women, we see you. Some of the
Oh, yeah,
loudest, most
yeah.
boisterous people out there right now are women.
Yes,
And
yes,
it
yes.
makes me say, like, man, come on, men, that are in Congress. Like, not saying that it's for everybody. People got their own niche, their own skill set. but the Jasmine Crockett's and the AOCs and Omar, they're vocal and they're standing for democracy in the face of, you see some of the vile stuff that have been said about these women, man, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting that people open their mouth and talk about people for no other reason other than hatred, right? But to the women that are doing it, we see you, and we just want to make sure that you understand that we support you wholeheartedly, 100%. But Gregory,
100%.
they have been the backbones of our community, not just in politics, but in church, in the family, in caregiving,
Education.
education, especially in education.
Yeah.
Women are showing up. So we see you, we love you, and we said this when we did the men's event last weekend. We professed it. Like, we not only can't we do it without you, we can't do it without you, but we don't want to do it without you. So, to the women out there that's doing it, I hope you can always feel safe and protected and encouraged by men that love you for who you are and for what you're doing and what you've always been doing for our community. So hats off to our ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a safe place. You would not ever hear women being disrespected on this podcast or any podcast that I'm on or Gerard's on. We hold women in high value here, and it's rarely a podcast that we do that we don't say we love our women. So we got you. We got you because you done held us down for so long. We got your back too.
For sure. As the youngsters say, on my soul. We got
That's right.
Man, so this was fun, man. I appreciate you making time. Appreciate the audience for tuning in. And again, it's just the first, but more to come.
Absolutely. It's gonna be great. So hey, like, share, subscribe, tell everybody. There's a new chief in town, the Tan Suit podcast, sorry. And whenever there's an issue, we're gonna discuss it. Whenever there's need clarity, we're gonna discuss it. And whenever there's hypocrisy, we're gonna call it out. And so we look forward to having these conversations with you. So join the conversation, like, share, subscribe, follow us. Make sure you don't miss it because we're here for you. We love you.
The president came out addressing reporters on Thursday, and he was wearing this tan suit.
Ears to hear and eyes to see. What if you knew it represented freedom for someone who looked just like me?
Also known as Tan Gate.
Tan suit.
What if I asked him if he's sure that freedom is exactly for me? Would he wonder? And why would he even think such a thing? Would he ask, would I even listen to the anthem?